Good morning, all you podcasters out there in Podcastville. I'm Pastor Rex, pastor of church here in Austin, Texas, and very excited to do what we're doing today. Once a month, we have chosen to have a podcast, and we have had 3 of these, and they've been extremely successful. But I've taken a reach this time because I wanted somebody that I really truly admire. I'm a guy that was raised loving ball, loving athletics, played a little in my life, didn't play college, but I had opportunities in my life to do things outside of just high school. But when I came to be pastor here in Austin, Texas in 1990, there was a young man that was going to be here later and playing ball here later that I was going to come in contact with, and he's sitting here with me today, and he's quite a gentleman. He's quite a gentleman, member of our church. He has a beautiful wife, 3 lovely kids, and he played football in the National Football League for 13 years. 13 years. Now, you know, the average in the National Football League is about 4.5 years, but he played 13 years, and I don't think he ever was really hurt. I don't think he was ever hurt until the very end of his career. And he and his wife and kids are members of this congregation, and so I asked him the other day if I could bring him on, and we just talk about things that perhaps you wouldn't hear on normal pastors' conversations. And we're going to talk today about a lot of stuff, but I want to introduce my friend today. His name is Cory Redding. And he is one of the most fantastic individuals, loving people. You'd never dream just being around him that he could be mean and ugly in between those lines on a football field. But I'm presenting him to you today, and we're going to have a wonderful time of talking and visiting and just fellowshipping. And so I want you to tune in and join in, and just you'll fall in love with this guy, I promise that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my friend and a wonderful person in life, Cory Redding. Cory, good to have you today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Pastor. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you. And we're going to talk, and Cory, we'll probably have to cut this off a little bit and kind of cut off some areas because we can talk all day.
All day. Because
I love what you're a part of and what you were a part of, and you love to talk about it. So and we're both gifted with talk.
Yes.
We like to talk. And so I think we all just start at the beginning. Let's just go back to, you've always been a Texan.
Mm-hmm.
You love Texas, and I like that. I love that about you. But let's talk about your birth and maybe where you played a little football in your life, and then we're going to get into some big-time stuff about college and professional ranks, then the family, and, of course, your faith in God. So why don't we talk about – let's talk about your place of birth and how it was when you were born.
Yes, I was born in Houston, Texas.
All right.
In 1980. My father and mother at the time, my father was working for, oil companies and things like that in Florida, and he was transferred to Houston.
All right.
And so we lived in the Galena Park area, east side of Houston. I think he worked over in Pasadena area, and so that's where I was born and raised. My brother was born in 79, and I was born in 80. So if it wasn't for that move, I would have been a Floridian.
Oh, Lord, played for Florida State.
I know, right? So thank God I moved to Texas, right? And the rest is history.
Right. So you were raised in the Galena Park area, and you played football for North Shore.
North Shore High School.
Now, I didn't know a lot about it back then.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, they've come on.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, and when you see them on the field, they look like a college football team.
Yes.
Those boys are big.
Yes.
And they're fast.
Yes.
And I think Cory Redding might have been the forerunner of that kind of skill and athletic ability because you played there. And when you came out of high school, Cory, this is awesome. I want to say this. When you came, you was the number one person on all the charts of the top pick in all of America. You're the number one.
Yes.
As a linebacker, a weak side linebacker, a will linebacker. And here you are, down there in Houston, and I think we're going to show a picture of it. Your acceptance to come to Texas, but what caused you to want to come be a part of Texas?
I realized that making a pick to go to college is going to be a huge decision in my life. And I've heard that from so many different people when I was in high school. So I knew that if it was going to be that big of a decision for me to make, I need to choose a college that most likely, 9 times out of 10, I want to live in that state, that city for the rest of my life. Right. And I took all the visits. I went to the Arizonas. I went to the Colorados. I went to all the different schools, had my fun. But I chose Texas. My heart is here in Texas. I wanted to raise my family here in Texas. And that is the reason why I chose to go to University of Texas.
Okay. Who was responsible? I mean, a guy of your impact in high school, a guy that played like you played with your hair on fire,
Mm-hmm.
who was the coaches that convinced you that Texas, I mean, you're the number one choice in America.
Yeah.
Man, that's hard to imagine that I'm talking to that right here, right now, and I pastor that. But who was those guys that made you feel like Texas is my place?
David Amon was our head coach, and he truly believed in me. Coming from my neighborhood, you don't have a lot of positive influences in your life.
That's right.
And a lot of the men in those areas are in jail or just absent because they decide not to live up to their responsibilities. Mm-hmm. So the only male figures in my community are the teachers and coaches, right? And so David Amon, with his hard-nosed discipline and structure attitude and how he built that team, really
at North Shore
was great.
Yeah.
But he believed in me. He believed in me as a talent. He was hard on me. When I did great, he pat me on the back. When I messed up, he kicked my butt, but I knew that was out of love, right? And so, at least that's what I thought. And so, and then there was 2 guys that I, to this day, see as my guardian angels in my life. God placed them in my life at the right time because I really could have took a detour left to go do some awful things.
Right.
But these 2 gentlemen was in my life at the right time. The first man was Al Segura. He was my linebacker coach, and Calvin Guillory. He was my defensive end coach and track coach. Those 2 gentlemen right there, I mean, literally helped put me on the pathway to what you see today.
Right.
Because they saw in me a leader the moment I set foot as a freshman in 95. They saw that leadership quality in me. I can either lead men to do bad things, sell drugs, get in trouble, do this, do that, or lead guys into doing great things, right? On the football field,
Excellent.
in the community,
Excellent.
and people, and having a successful life.
Yes.
They gave me those options, and they put those images in my mind, and I had to make a decision. And if it wasn't for those 2 guys at that right time, I would have chose the left because it was the easiest choice to make because I didn't see a future for myself. But these guys made me vision a world that I could create based off of making good decisions and playing good football. And that was everything for me.
Right. We're 70% water in our bodies, and water runs downhill. Water runs downhill. Mm-hmm. And so you have to really have a turnaround to make your water on the inside of you run uphill. Mm-hmm. And you made that choice.
Yes.
So Cory, you carry, now we're going to jump forward here and then we're going to come back and pick up the pieces. Mm-hmm. But you carry you've talked to our men's group here. You make speeches, you talk, you're wanted around the country for your positive attitude. But you have this slogan in your life that this whole podcast is built out of, and it's you call it HTRA. And when I first got acquainted with you a long time ago, back when the Detroit Lions were wanting you to come play, we had a prayer, and you asked me to pray that God would give you a good contract, and He gave you a great contract and got you started. But you've had this on your businesses. It's everywhere. It's what you're about. Mm-hmm. It's HTRA. Have the right attitude.
Amen to that.
And Cory, you live that.
Yes.
You don't just have it as a slogan. That's who you are.
Yes.
You never walk up to anybody without having a better. We can do life better together. We can make this work together. We can shine. We don't have to whine. We can shine. And you have that. So How do you embody that, and what made that your whole life be built on those 4 words? Have the right attitude. How did that happen?
I realized at a very young age that there's so many things out of my control that I can't make happen. I can't control how people think of me. I can't control the weather. If it's raining outside and I want it to be sunny, there's nothing I can do about that.
That's right.
There's so many factors in life that I have no control of. But I do have control of internal. I have control of my mind, my attitude, and my joy, right? I say all the time, I refuse to let anyone steal my joy because they didn't give it to me. God gave that to me. So if they didn't give it to me, why would I allow them to steal it from me? So I have my inner peace and my joy because I know who I am. And my identity is not wrapped up in football, it's wrapped up in who God made me to be. Second of all, my attitude is everything, especially in my household with my wife. Early years when I was playing, I got married my rookie year, and I would come home frustrated from practice, angry, upset. I lived literally 5 minutes away from my apartment. So I would come home, had a young daughter, and my wife, she didn't know what kind of day I had. I would walk in the door, upset, angry, didn't want to talk because I was fresh from practice. Coaches are screaming at me, loud whistles. I'm fighting in practice, teammates and things like that. And my energy would just ooze into my wife and my daughter at home. And then I realized that I have to change my attitude when I come home because what I bring home festers around my whole family, right? It lingers, it oozes on. So when I changed my attitude, when I went home, it made my home happier. More peace and harmony was residing in my home, and it made my life that much sweeter. So attitude is what is just everything, and have the right attitude can help you so much in business and in life. The more you see it, the more it'll impact you.
Yeah. So Cory, we're going to get to your pro career here in just a little bit, but this is what I love. I want to ask you this: after 13 years in the NFL, and being a healthy man and a bruiser, they put you at defensive end. They made you a defensive tackle. You could have played every position. You were like a 5-tool defensive player. You could have played any position. They could have put you in linebacker in the pros. You could have played. But when you got through with that, you had made a promise or a vow to either your wife or your family that you were going to finish your education. Did you go to the pros after your junior year or senior year?
My senior year.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
I changed my major my junior year, so I had 40-something hours left on my undergrad because I chose to switch from College of Communications to temporary liberal arts to College of Education. So when I made the decision to go to College of Education, I had all these hours on my undergrad. If I would have realized, hey, look, if I would have just stayed in liberal arts, I would have been fine, right, and graduated because I had all the credits. But
you changed horses.
Yes, I changed horses. And so, yes, I made a decision to go back to school and finish my undergrad because I made a promise to my mom, and I made a promise to my wife and my kids. But more importantly, I made a promise to myself that whatever I start in life, I finish.
That's it.
I couldn't go to these schools and talk to kids about finishing school, go to college and do these things to get your degree when I didn't have mine. I can't tell my kids, hey, what you start, you finish, and, you got to finish this football team, you got to finish this theater deal, you got to finish this project, and I didn't finish my degree, right? So I have to walk what I talk, and I did that. And so in May of 2017, I finished my undergrad.
And by the way, folks, by the way, he made the news. Cory Redding was still something special to the University of Texas in 2017. After his pro football career, he came back, got his degree, and walked. Okay. And then later that year,
from the College of Education, I was invited to be the keynote speaker for the commencement of the College of Education. It was at the Bass Concert Hall, and it was awesome. I went in, my family and I was there, and they gave me a nice little gown and everything.
I saw it.
The whole nine. And I went up there and just spoke from my heart. I prepared a nice speech, but it was awesome. Just full circle. From a young kid from the east side of Houston, had difficulties in school, this, that, and the other, had no desire to go to college, to attend one of the best universities in the country, to now graduate from that university, have that degree on my wall. Nobody can take that from me. I finished. I finished.
You finished, Cory. You finished, yeah. And this kid from, from Galena Park, from the area of Houston, where perhaps some kids are going to go the other direction.
Yeah.
You chose. And really, football was the thing that brought you out of there.
Yes.
It brought you out of there. Is that all right to say that?
Yes, it did. And it was really therapeutic.
Yes.
In a way. I used to get in trouble a lot in school. I would end up, all the principals knew me because.
It's that personality.
I know, right? All the principals knew me because I was in their office for fighting, right? So, I realized, look, I can stay in school and continue to fight and end up in juvie or all these principals' offices, and they get mad at me every day and every week. Or I could join the football team, go out here and beat these guys up, punch them in the mouth, and not go to jail for it.
And it's legal.
And it's legal, and they love me for it. So, you know what? I chose football. It was just therapeutic to go out there and just play smash mouth football and just run hard and tackle and then be praised for it and get a scholarship and then make millions doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm just blown away. Okay, now. Let's talk about your family just a little bit, because I think this is a very important thing. It is to you and it is to me. I'm family oriented. You're family oriented. So let's talk about your sweet Priscilla. I've got to go on record to all you people out there. Cory's a nice looking man, but he outkicked his coverage.
Yes, I did.
He outkicked his coverage when he got Priscilla, because Priscilla is. She's a beautiful lady, both inside and out. I say inside first and out second, because we talk at our home, pretty is as pretty does. And his wife is a pretty doer. She is just a wonderful lady. And we probably got to be around her more than he during his football career, because Cory was out playing and y'all had a home here in Austin.
Yes.
Priscilla would continue to come to the church, and be here. And But let's just talk a little bit about maybe how y'all met. I think this is a neat story, Cory,
yes.
how y'all met. This is cool.
So we're both College of Education majors.
Right.
And we had a class together in Belmont. That's on the west side of the stadium. And at the time when we met, I had braids. It was my junior year. I grew an afro. So at that time, braids were in, right? So I would come to class sometimes with my hair braided. And then other times I would come to the class with my hair unbraided. Well, I never really had the time to pick, didn't care about it. So I would go in the classroom. My hair is all crinkly and all over the place. And one of her friends liked me. And they was like, ooh, he's cute. And Priscilla's like, he's ugly, that sort of thing, right? And so one day, the friend that liked me invited me to go with them and hang out with them for drinks on a Thursday night at El Arroyo down on 5th Street. And
fine Mexican food restaurant.
And so it was, shout out to El Arroyo.
Yeah.
And then three or four different friends of hers was going. So I said, can I bring some of my friends? And it was like, yeah. So after practice, I invited 4 or 5 of my teammates, and we all went down. We had a great time. And we went outside to go listen to music, and we sat next to each other, and literally sparks were flying. We sat next to each other and talked like we knew each other for years. 18 years later, we have 3 beautiful children.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. We got married my rookie year in the NFL. On my bye week, actually. Crazy, I know.
Yeah, this is good.
But when you're in love and you got the right one, you don't want to lose her, right? And I didn't want to lose it
right now.
It's right now. So I flew home on a Thursday after practice, got on the plane, flew home on Thursday. I got my tuxedo.
Playing for Detroit. Just playing for Detroit.
Playing for the Lions.
Yeah.
I got my tuxedo on Friday from Al's Formal Wear. Said I do on Sunday, on Sunday, and then we were back on the plane, headed to Detroit as husband and wife. And I mean, it was crazy. It was a whirlwind, but when you're young and in love like that, you do crazy things like that.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And you made a statement when we visited about this interview. You made a statement about the fact that you thought the good Lord placed you there to get you away from the yesterdays of your life.
Yes.
Because if you'd have been around family, perhaps the marriage would not have been as cohesive as it is, because it's a very cohesive marriage. It's a very wonderful marriage. And you mentioned that, I think, while we were talking. So you want to kind of go a little further on that?
I truly believe that everything happens for a reason.
It does.
And if I would have been drafted by, let's say, the Texans, and I stayed in Houston, and we're both from Houston, and I think our marriage would not have lasted this long because outside distractions would have come in and separated what God has put together.
Right.
And so at that point in our young marriage, it was 3 years that we really had to learn and grow. She had to realize that I wasn't a perfect man, and I had to realize she wasn't a perfect woman.
That's right.
And we're two imperfect people trying to live a perfect marriage. That's not going to work.
Right.
So we had to accept some things in our life and get through those tough times together with our outside family and friends influencing. We went through those two things together because it was her, I, and God in the middle that went through those tough times, and it just bonded us that much closer. And that's the uniqueness of our marriage. Folks say, how you last that long? They say, wow, you've been married 18 years? That's uncommon in today's world.
That's very uncommon,
And
Cory.
I'm like,
it is.
well, it can be common when you decide to take a stand, you decide to do this, and you know who you're doing it with, her and the Lord.
Yeah.
And so it makes it easy.
So y'all have got 3 wonderful kids, and the oldest, the daughter, and my birthday is the same day.
Yeah, same day.
We celebrate. Now, I was blessed to know that Kaylee was born on December the 28th. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we've always promised we're going to have a birthday dinner together.
Yeah.
And maybe when she turns 20 or 21, we can do that.
Yeah.
But would you talk a little bit about your children? They're awesome.
Yes.
A little girl, 2 little boys. They're just incredible. And those boys are pretty good athletes.
Yes, they are.
Talk about them a little bit.
My daughter, Kaylee, she's 17, soon to be 18 this year, and she's a junior in high school. She loves to crochet. She loves to paint. She loves to draw. She's an artist. She's in theater. Been in 4 or 5 major productions, and the actual bug that bit her to love being in theater was performing at the Christmas play here at church. In 2016 or 17. That was her first time acting.
Yeah.
Right?
She was awesome.
She fell in love with it from that day.
She was awesome. I
fell in love
that.
with it from that day. So from that Christmas show, that put her down this path of being on Hollywood big screen one day, right? She's doing great. Good grades in school, things like that. CJ, he's my middle son, 13 years old. He's in 7th grade. He plays football and throws a discus in track. Smart kid, loves computers, loves gadgets, and he's just have a golden heart. Loves people, and he's gonna be something.
Yeah.
He's gonna be something.
Yeah.
Christian, my youngest, he's 11. He plays baseball. He's gonna be the future president. I mean, this kid walks around his school as a first grader. He's the only kid, by the way, that went through kindergarten and 5th grade all the way through. He was the only kid. All the other 2 had to travel because of my football days.
I got you, yeah.
But because when I retired, he started school here in kindergarten. And literally, 1st, 2nd grade, he's walking through the hallways. A 5th grader says, hey, Christian, how you doing? He's like, oh, hey, Jake, how you doing? A teacher says, hey, Christian, how you doing? He's like, hello, miss, whatever. And I'm like, how does this 1st grade, 2nd grade kid know a 5th grader? He don't hang out with him. He don't have play dates. He don't go to the playground. He just knows people. Yeah. I mean, he's just a people person, and
he's got a little politician.
Yeah, he's all over the place. Just love being around people.
Oh, that's so cool, yeah. Cory. You and Priscilla, neither one of y'all lack for personality. I mean, it's not like the gregarious Cory has got this quiet little wife. No, she's as sweet and as open as you are, and so you. Can I say the word? You baptize those kids in that stuff, and they've been around that.
Yeah.
And when kids have that kind of makeup outside, it's because that's been put in them in the house, and y'all have put something in them, and train up a child in the way he should go. When they're old, they won't depart from it. That's
Absolutely.
a good book. So Cory, let's talk a little bit about your NFL career now. We've saved this to the last. Let's talk about it just a little bit. You were drafted by the Lions. We had the prayer meeting. We prayed in the church one day, just me and you, and God gave you a great contract with them. And then your path went on down the road. I want you to talk about every one of these teams, and talk about how you, just the same way at North Shore, how you prepared these teams, and then you were just a year before.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk about that. It's funny. This is good.
So, in high school, the team wasn't very good and up till 95. So when David Amon got there, changed the culture, have these kind of kids, who've done tremendous things. And then I leave to go to Texas. A couple years later, 2003, I think, they win the high school championship. And so I was like, man, always close, but never got there.
Yeah.
I get drafted by the Lions. I played there for 6 years. I leave to go to Seattle. Mind you, Detroit never been in the playoffs for like 50 years. And I leave to go to Seattle. A year or two later, they make it to the playoffs, right? This is something we were shooting for all 6 years I was there. You know, my best record was 7-9.
And you asked for a trade.
Yeah, I know, right? And the worst record was 0-16, so you can understand why I wanted to leave.
Right.
And then I go to Seattle. I play there for 1 year, and then I go to Baltimore soon after. Well, when I leave Seattle, a couple years later, they win a Super Bowl.
They did.
When I was with Baltimore. So I'm like, wow, gosh, man, I'm so close. So now I'm a free agent. I'm going to choose the teams I want to go to because these teams have the best chances of winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
So I choose to go to Baltimore Ravens. I was there for 2 years, played with some amazing guys, Hall of Fame guys.
Ray
Lewis, Ed Reed, Joe Flacco, Haloti Ngata, Terrell Suggs, you name it, the list goes on. We had a stellar roster on both sides of the ball. I leave in 2011. I follow Indianapolis. I go to Indianapolis to follow Chuck Pagano. And in 2012, the Baltimore Ravens won the Super Bowl. I'm just a day late and $1 short, I tell you.
So, you left a day early.
A day early, yeah.
You left a day early, brother.
So now I'm in Indy. I'm there for 3 years. We get to the AFC Championship twice, lose to the Patriots twice. So I knocked.
They had this guy. What was his name?
Tom Brady. You know.
Tom. Yeah.
Oh man, don't like that guy, but I respect the heck out of him. He's just.
Did you ever get a lick on him? He passed the ball pretty quick. Did you ever hit him?
Yeah, he did. And I sacked him a couple times.
You got him?
Yeah, I sacked him with the Lions.
Come on, that's awesome.
Sacked him with the Lions a couple times with the Colts. Every chance I got to play the Patriots, I try to get to the quarterback, right?
He was fast. He could get rid of the ball in 2 seconds.
He
was
could get
good.
rid of the ball fast, but he was not a fast player.
I'm saying he was fast to get rid of the ball is what I'm talking about. He's quick.
So, yeah, I mean, just, playing for all these teams and going down that path and so close to the championships but never really reaching it has just been kind of like my life story, right?
Yeah.
But it was fun.
So, Cory, you may not want to talk about this. You don't have to give a name. But do you have in your mind perhaps the greatest hit that you ever put on somebody?
Ooh.
I know the answer.
Ooh, greatest hit.
The greatest hit you ever put on somebody.
I mean,
the one you enjoyed the most.
I mean,
we've talked. This ain't our first time to talk.
So it's been plenty quarterbacks that I've hit in my time. I mean, I sacked Brett Favre, I sacked Tom Brady, I sacked a lot of them. Dante Culpeppers. I mean, you name it, I sacked them. Ben Roethlisberger.
He's tough to get down.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he is.
But it's something about growing up in Texas and playing for the University of Texas.
Come on, let's talk.
And the school that you always played on Thanksgiving was A&M.
Yeah.
And we had something about A&M, and I only lost to them one time in my career, my freshman year, and after that we won 3 straight. But it was this quarterback from A&M that was playing for the Dolphins at the time, and I think his name is Ryan Tannehill.
Is that his name?
I think it is. Tannehill, I think his name is. Anyway,
he's still playing.
It was, I think he's with the Titans now.
He's with the Titans, yeah.
I mean, it was just cool. It was just a unique play.
Yeah.
Came down to the wire. We scored. We needed to stop him in Indy. Again, this was the time where Chuck was going through cancer and all this kind of stuff. So we had all these elements around. And, again, it was just an A&M guy and a Texas guy. So last play of the game, I'm running 50 yards across the field. Brian stops, and he turns back to throw the ball back across the field. And I put my helmet and my face mask right through his chest and just drove him to the ground, and it was just a cool moment.
It wasn't the hit you heard, it was his Cory, that's funny. And also we have a co-lead pastor in this church named Brad Wilkinson.
Oh yeah.
That one night at a men's meeting here, he got down in a 3-point stance against you, Cory. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
So a lot of people don't really challenge me in football, right? They just know I play football. They look at me and go, not going to do it. Well, Brad was on the other hand. He's going to do it.
He's an athlete.
Every time I seen Brad, he would, hey, Cory, come on, let's go. Let's get down. He'd get in the 3-point stands. And I'm like modest. I'm like, all right, Brad, nah, I'm not gonna do it today. I'm not going to mess you today. So it was that particular night. He said, "Come on, Cory, let's do it." He gets down at his stance, and now I'm in striking distance.
I was standing right there.
I'm in striking distance. I got down and I hit him so fast, and I took him down to the ground, pumped 2 on his chest, and then I got his arm and snatched his sole up out of his shoes or back to his feet. And I mean, it was just an amazing moment. He didn't know I could move that fast.
That all took place in about 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, like
the whole thing,
that
down
fast.
and up and everything. About
That
10
fast.
seconds. And Brad gets up, shaking his head, and said, "What just happened?" What just happened?
He's like,
Corey,
"I didn't know you could move that
was one of
fast."
the greatest moments, and I still bring it up to him all the time because he was overwhelmed right now. I said, "Brad, that's why you probably just need to stay in baseball, son. You don't need to play this game."
Yes.
So, Cory, let's wrap this up with you've been very influential in Austin since you've come back. You haven't just played the game just to get the honor and the glory from it, but you've played the game to give back.
Yes.
You're a give back person.
Yes.
And so you've come to Austin, and we've partnered with you. You've had a lot of things happen here at the church. You've blessed foundations. So why don't you kind of just tell us what's happening with you right now in Austin and what you're working on currently and how you're doing all of that?
I think my nickname is Give Back.
I believe that. I believe that.
Because God has done so much for me. I just can't tell it all. That's the
right.
whole.
I love that.
I just can't tell it all, and so I have to. It's like my life's duty to give back. You know, He blessed me to bless others, right?
That's
and
right.
so, created Cory Redding Foundation. You know, we've blessed so many kids in the inner city with scholarships to go to the University of Texas College of Education. Also go to summer camps. Sometimes they were free. Other times it was just $25 entry. But just to get them in, give them life skills while giving them some football skills. I sit on the board of, Neighborhood Longhorn program where we, help inner city kids in the city of Austin, predominantly on the east side of Austin, give them tickets to go to the football games and sporting events, but they have to make good grades in school, things like that, meet the criteria to do that. I serve on the College of Education Advisory Board, helping navigate
at the
University of Texas, help navigate students through their 4 years there to go through issues and problems that can help them be better students, better people in the community, and better representatives of the University of Texas once they graduate. Created, a few jobs here, working in the NFL, being a team captain of 4 out of 5 of these teams. All the teams I've played on, I was a captain. And so being a captain of those organizations, running these multi-billion-dollar owner organizations on the football standpoint, gave me a lot of tools that I use in business today. Things I've learned on the field, I transitioned those learning tools for the business world.
Right.
So I created a construction company, was operational for 2.5, 3 years, did some amazing things. A barbershop for 7 years.
I got my haircut there.
Blessed so many great people to the point where, COVID took us down. This is part of it. But at the end of the day, what I see as a success with that is one of my barbers opened up his barbershop. It's called Ward's. Mine was called Red's. They do the same identical thing that we did at Reds there. It's the same community, same people. The energy is awesome, and I feel like that's an extension of what we created on West 6th Street. I think that is just so unique to be a part of his story and his wife's story, and that I'll take my sons now to go get their haircuts from him.
That's neat.
Just to create jobs here, give Austinites a place to call home for employment, helping kids in the community, being a part of great organizations, leading team, leading people, giving back. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
I feel like if the world can just emulate what goes on in locker rooms today, different people, different races, different colors, different backgrounds, didn't matter.
Preach it.
When you walk through the door of that locker room, you leave ego and everything else at the door. When you walk in that arena, you are a team.
We're one.
You're one, and we're all about one cause, and that's winning a championship, winning games, and just being there for each other, right? It's a brotherhood of men, and it could be a brotherhood of women, right, in women's sports. And so if we could just embody that, that's what I miss, and that's why I do the things that I do, because I'm trying to create that in the business world. What I've loved and learned from in the NFL, I'm creating that in these business arenas. And so whether that's the energy sector, the industry of barbering, whatever it is, that's that's what we do.
That's right.
Currently now I'm working on an energy project where we're helping ERCOT, with reliability for energy into the grid. What happened February 21, I don't ever want that to happen again. Many people died because we had no power, and so instead of being on the sideline talking about it, I want to walk my talk. Let's do something about it. Let's put things in place.
That was a tough week.
Let's do things in place that the legislation, the PUC and ERCOT and all of them putting together, giving us the tools to build this facility and to power the grid and keep it on. That is our main focus for generations to come.
Cory, this has been revelatory to me. I've known you a long time, and we've been friends a long time, and I've honored you, and you've honored the house, and you've honored the pastor, and so I thank you for that. But I didn't realize that your daughter's career started here in this church at a Christmas program that the children put on. I remember that just like it's yesterday. So that's the only thing that I didn't know about all that we've talked about today. But Cory, I'm honored to have had you on the podcast today, and we'll be broadcasting this in just a few days. But I want to thank everyone that has tuned in today to listen to this. This guy doesn't just talk it; he walks it. He lives it. He not only dreams it, he gets up and sees his dreams come to fruition. And so that's the beauty of people like this. Some people think that football players just play football and that's all they do. Baseball, that's all they do. Basketball, that's all they do. But no, there's some people that are born to be world changers. And I think that I've just interviewed here one today. And Cory, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, man, for being my friend and for being the friend of this church and for knowing the God that you know, because all this started because of a God factor, that you absolutely said, I'm going to be the best that God's created me to be. And you're doing that right now. You're living that life right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being a part of this. And let's do this, Cory, together. Come on. The eyes of Texas are upon you, buddy. I love you, friend. We'll see you. God bless. Have a great day.